dealing with some more of our favorite trigonometry. I don't know why that intro was so awkward, but here we are, guys. Okay, so we're finding trig at a point, meaning like we're finding our 6 trig ratios given a point. What does that mean? First of all, let's go ahead and plot the point and see what it looks like. So on our coordinate plane here, I'm going to plot the point -3, 4. So I get this point. How on earth am I supposed to build sine, cosine, and tangent from a point where I only know how to do sine, cosine, and tangent given a triangle? Well, let's give it a triangle, shall we? We went 3 to the left, then I went up 4, and I created this triangle. Nice right triangle to do right triangle trig. Okay? What we've also done is we built a reference angle. Our reference angle will always be from our hypotenuse, or our terminal side of an angle, and the x-axis. Okay? So a point to remember here, your reference angle always refers to the x-axis. So it's always between our hypotenuse and the x-axis, or our terminal side and the x-axis. So I have 2 sides of my triangle. I'm missing the hypotenuse. Well, since I'm missing the hypotenuse, I've got to find its length. I can use the Pythagorean theorem, or I can recognize that this is a Pythagorean triple. This is a 3, 4, 5 triangle. So remember, Pythagorean triples will save you time. So if you recognize them, you can just plug in that value instead of having to find it using the Pythagorean theorem. Now that I know all 3 sides, I can set up my trig ratios. My sine of theta is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine of theta is adjacent over hypotenuse. And my tangent of theta is opposite over adjacent. Typically, we don't like negatives in the denominator, so you could write that as -4/3 or -4/3. Okay, either way. So we have our 3 trig functions. We also have our 3 reciprocal trig functions. So the reciprocal of sine is cosecant, so that's 5/4. Secant is -5/3, and cotangent is -3/4. Something cool to note, we are in the second quadrant, and sine and its reciprocal are the only positive trig functions. So something to think about. Okay, I got a second example here. If you want to give it a shot, then come back and check to see how you did. Let's take a look. So again, I'm going to start by plotting my point. So 1, 2, then I'm going to go down -6. And I get this point. So my triangle here, there's my right angle. And again, theta is between my hypotenuse and the x-axis. So I went right 2, down 6. This is not a Pythagorean triple, so I'm going to go ahead and use the Pythagorean theorem to find my hypotenuse. So that's 2 squared plus -6 squared equals c squared. 4 plus 36 equals c squared. 40 equals c squared, and I square root. So if you remember how to simplify our radicals, I'm going to find the factors of 40. So I'm going to do 4 and 10. Square root both. Square root of 4 is 2. And the square root of 10, since it can only factor to 2 primes, it's going to stay root 10. So c equals plus or minus 2 root 10. Here we're talking about a distance, so we're going to go ahead and ignore the negative, and our hypotenuse will always be positive. So this is 2 root 10. If I'm ignoring the negative here, the question is, why don't I ignore the negative on the 6? With this, we're going to keep the negative on the 6 because it's giving me a direction. I'm going down to that point. It helps with our trig ratios. So now that we have the setup, we're going to go ahead and just set up our 6 trig ratios, making sure we're taking care of our algebra, rationalizing the denominator, and fully reducing our fractions. So sine of theta is negative 6 over 2 root 10. The 6 and the 2 are going to reduce. And then I'm going to have to take care of the rationalization. So I'm going to multiply by root 10. So this is negative 3 root 10 over 10. Cosine theta, I'm going to have 2 over 2 root 10. Those 2's reduce, and I rationalize. So I get the square root of 10 over 10. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, which reduces to negative 3. Reciprocal of sine is cosecant, which would have given me 2 root 10 over negative 6. So that's going to reduce to negative root 10 over 3. Secant theta, that's going to be this 2 root 10 over 2, which is just the square root of 10. And, whoops, cotangent theta, can hardly see that, so we'll go ahead and just jump over here. Cotangent theta is the reciprocal, so I'm going to get negative 1/3. Okay, remember your reference angle is always back to the x-axis. Rationalize your denominators. Remember how to reduce radicals. Go ahead and solve. Oh, I don't know, turn on your notifications. Make sure you know when I'm posting. Like and subscribe. Come back for more. Happy?